Well, welcome back to Finance Uncut. On today's episode, my top 10 economic, investment, and trading books. So this video is a bit of a milestone video. It's our 100th video we've done on this channel. And I just want to thank you all for supporting me, supporting the channel. I just seek to provide quality content that I think is valuable, that I want to share. And so I hope you guys enjoy it. And to celebrate our 100th video, I thought I'd go through some of my books behind me in my bookshelf and share with you my top 10 economic, investment, and trading books. So first cab off the rank is Economics in One Lesson by Henry Hazlitt. Now, you can order free copies of this book from the Mises Institute at the moment, so I'll put a link in the description below. But this is a book that any newbie to economics or any newbie to Austrian economics, I always recommend this book to read first and foremost. The books I have behind me, I've got 3 bookshelves. I've got a bookshelf at home. I've probably read another several hundred ebooks and probably about 100 audio books. So definitely, I used to read between 6 and 8 books a month. Less these days, as since I've been doing this channel, I read less. So I'm probably reading between 2 to 4 books a month at the moment. So I definitely recommend starting out with Economics in One Lesson by Henry Hazlitt. Another great introductory book to Austrian economics is David Gordon's book, An Introduction to Economic Reasoning, written very in a simple way. Once again, I think you can get a free copy of this, a free ebook from the Mises Institute as well. Economic Depressions by Murray Rothbard, less than 50 pages. So really, kids can read this book and start to get a understanding about how the economy works. Another little gem from Murray Rothbard is What Has Government Done to Our Money? This is also one that I recommend people either just learning economics or just coming to Austrian economics for the first time to read this book. Once again, it's a little gem, less than 100 pages. So a book that doesn't get a lot of rankings. I don't hear a lot of people talk about this one, but The Mystery of Banking by Murray Rothbard. If you really want to understand how the banking system works and the history, a bit of history behind it, I think this is a wonderful book. It definitely opened my mind on how the banking system worked, and then from there it's developed further as I've read other books as well. But definitely rate this one. As you can see, I'm definitely a Murray Rothbard fan. Now, probably it'll be one of my favorite Murray Rothbard books. So if you've studied economics at university or studied the Great Depression, you've probably come across Ben Bernanke's book or Milton Friedman's book explaining the causes and whatnot of the Great Depression. However, you'd be wrong if that's all you read. Definitely recommend reading America's Great Depression by Murray Rothbard, which really does explain, the causes of the Great Depression. And James Grant's book, The Forgotten Depression, 1921, The Crash That Cured Itself, is probably the most underrated book out there, full stop. The 1920-21 depression had a larger deflationary depression, a larger deflation than the Great Depression in the 1930s. And if you want to compare the policy response between the 1920-21 depression and the 1930s depression, you've got empirical evidence right there that Austrian economics works. So once again, read Murray Rothbard's Great Depression to get an understanding of what caused it and really what prolonged it, and then read this one from James Grant. It's, as I said, it's probably the most underrated book out there. So in Austrian economics, the book is Human Action by Ludwig von Mises. It might be heresy to say this, but I actually prefer Man, Economy and State by Murray Rothbard. Obviously, I'm a Murray Rothbard fan. He's my favorite all-time economist. But I just found Man, Economy and State was probably an updated version of Human Action. Probably, in my opinion, easier to read and understand as well. I did read Human Action early on. So maybe reading Human Action as one of your first books, learning about Austrian economics might not be the wisest thing. I don't know. But my opinion, this is the #1 Austrian economic book. And if you're new to Austrian economics, this is a brilliant little book, maybe 120 pages, economic science and the Austrian method. So once again, if Man, Economy and State and Human Action is too long and too, deep, this is a deep book. It's not really simple. It goes into the science and the method of Austrian economics and the philosophy behind it. So this is probably definitely one I highly recommend for newbies wanting to learn Austrian economics. When we talk about central banking, and in particular the Fed, I came across Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad in the early 2000s, maybe 2001, 2002 maybe. And that kind of opened my eyes. I heard Robert continuously talking about The Creature from Jekyll Island, G. Edward Griffin. And so I finally got a copy of this book, and it really did open my eyes to central banking, the Fed, the creation, all that. Now, I actually had a debate once with so-called Lord Sugar, the bloke from England who does The Apprentice over there, about this book. He called it a conspiracy theory book, blah, blah, blah. And anyway, he and I debated and whatnot about that. So obviously he's not a big fan of it, but I highly recommend, if you haven't read this book yet, get yourself a copy. It's quite a big book, but it'll open your eyes. So the book right next to that is Ron Paul's And the Fed. I'm sure most of you watching this channel are big Ron Paul fans, and I'm sure you probably read this book, so I don't need to go into it. But if you haven't, very simple read, much easier read than The Creature from Jekyll Island, much easier, shorter. An even shorter book than And the Fed is Murray Rothbard's The Origins of the Federal Reserve. So yep, I've got a lot of Murray Rothbard books. And Murray's book, The Case Against the Fed, once again, I highly recommend getting it. I don't know if you can get a free copy of this one, but a free ebook, that is. But once again, a simple read, an easy read. It's not a long read. It's not a deep, difficult read at all. Now, you all know that our modern economic system is a Keynesian system. The majority of central bankers and central planners and academics are all Keynesians. Murray Rothbard absolutely shreds off Keynes in this book. Yeah, if you're a Keynesian, you may get offended reading this book, but he absolutely destroys Keynes in this book. So once again, I highly recommend it. And those of you, I'm sure, are into sound money, investing in gold and silver, and Murray Rothbard did a really good book here, The Case for 100% Gold Dollar. It makes a lot of sense to me. A book that not a lot of people have read is The Panic of 1819 by Murray Rothbard. So this book is actually based on his doctoral dissertation, and actually what's funny to note is his doctoral dissertation was actually rejected by former Fed chair Arthur Burns, and Murray had a falling out with his advisor, his doctoral advisor at the time. So Murray's PhD was actually delayed, but this book was actually based off Murray's actual doctoral dissertation. So, and if you think socialism can work, read this book. Ludwig von Mises destroyed the socialists at the time. He even had Hayek and Joseph Schumpeter, who leaned towards that Marxist socialist left. And when they read Mises' work on socialism, they were absolutely convinced it absolutely destroyed it. The socialists at the time, when they read it, they acknowledged that Mises was right on this. So I don't know if you've got a lefty mate out there that loves Marxism, socialism, communism, they think it can work. Murray Rothbard, give him this book by Mises, sorry, not Rothbard. And if they've got a brain that can just open a little bit, this just refutes socialism. Yeah, another really good book is Ron Paul's Gold, Peace and Prosperity. Not a big book. It just goes through the different stages in American history around the gold standard and the different stages of that. So definitely a good book. Now, when we get into investing, I am a Joel Greenblatt fan. So he's now got 4 books, but his 3 books, his first 3 books are my absolute favorite. You Can Be a Stock Market Genius. This is where I learned about leap options, basically long-term call options. And, Joel, I think over a period of 10 years managing Gotham Capital, averaged like close to 50% per annum return over a 10-year period. So Joel Greenblatt, he's in that Buffett Graham style of value investing. And so I'm a big fan of Joel Greenblatt. Now, I only read this book last year. It was recommended to me by actually my stockbroker. And I really enjoyed it. So it just goes through history about the different stocks that have turned into 100 baggers and I guess kind of how to find them and whatnot. Now, personally, I haven't had a 100 bagger yet. I've had plenty of 10 bagger plus returns. Never had a 100 bagger yet, so definitely keen to get my first 100 bagger. That's for sure. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. Good read. Definitely recommend it. So I think it's very important for any investor to have some gold, maybe some silver as part of their portfolio, as insurance, whatever. And I think Jim Rickard's really, very simple book, not a very long book at all. Does a really good job at pushing the case for gold, as the title says, a new case for gold. So definitely recommend this book for anyone that wants to think about investing in gold and silver. So this is a book that I get all my uni students to read very early on as they learn about investing. And you can give this to high school kids. About 100 pages long, written by Preston Pysh. Really basic introduction to, I guess, Warren Buffett's methodology around value investing. Uses some really cool basic examples in there that even kids will pick up. So definitely recommend this one. Now, the other book that I recommend is Intelligent Investor by Ben Graham. Unfortunately, it's not in the bookshelf behind me, so it must be at home. I don't lend books out to anyone anymore because I've lent books out and not received them back. And I forget who I lent them to. So I don't lend books out anymore. But yeah, I can't find the Intelligent Investor, so I hope it's at home. But this was a really good one by Preston Pysh and Stig Brodersen. The Intelligent Investor, just a summary of Ben Graham's work. Obviously, get The Intelligent Investor. I think the 2 best chapters in The Intelligent Investor for mine is about Mr. Market. Love that. Just yeah, it makes sense. The emotion of people, especially newer retail investors, it's just crazy. They ask me for advice, what, blah blah blah, and the next day if the stock goes down 2%, they're like having a heart attack. So I just love the Mr. Market part. And then the other chapter I really like in this is the margin of safety. Probably my two favorite chapters in the book. That's the intelligent investor. And I think these guys summarize that and go through it in this book as well. Peter Lynch, another investing legend. I always recommend newbies read, especially my high school and uni students read Learn to Earn by Peter Lynch, and then One Up on Wall Street. And another one of my favorite value investing books, Value Investing from Graham to Buffett and beyond. And so as a value investor, I like to trade options. So this book, The Intelligent Option Investor, Applying Value Investing to the World of Options, is brilliant because this is kind of exactly what I do as an investor and as a trader. Now, I've done a video before, and I'll put the link in the description, about how Warren Buffett prints money and how you can too. And Warren Buffett is big on naked puts. He sells a lot of naked puts, sells a lot of call options as well, but naked puts is his go-to strategy in the options market. And yeah, I use it to accumulate value stocks that I want to own. So definitely recommend it. So after Joel Greenblatt introduced me to Leap Options, this is a book, covered calls, that's my bread and butter. Naked puts, bread and butter. Leaps, bread and butter. That's my three of the four trades that I use with options. So this is an older book, but really good introduction. Really teaches you the basics of covered calls and leaps, etc. Now I have to do a big shout out here. The Lazy Trader: Investing for Monthly Income by Neil Godwin. Neil's actually a client of mine. I know Neil very well. I've known him for, 15 years maybe. And Neil himself has been a full-time trader since 1991. Really, really good book. I know Neil. He travels the world, or did before the... just travels the world, trades options in particular for monthly income, uses spreads and whatnot. I don't. I use the basic option strategies for myself. But big shout out to Neil. Yeah, we'll have to catch up soon, mate, if you're watching this. Now, I've shared in other videos that I originally studied classical economics, and I thought Adam Smith was the founder of capitalism, and that classical was the sound economic school, until, as I said, I started looking at all these real successful investors and these money managers, and all of them seemed to have a background in Austrian economics. And I was like, what is this Austrian economics? And so I poked my head into it, and I realized that Austrian economists have really predicted every boom and bust over the last 100 years or so. And the best money managers, the best investors use Austrian economics or have Austrian economics as a background. And so yeah, once I looked into it, and by the way, Adam Smith did a little bit of plagiarizing. Murray Rothbard absolutely rips Adam Smith and his followers, Ricardo, and even John Stuart Mill, and obviously Keynes. He rips him a new one. But he said Adam Smith, and I've done some research and read Richard Cantillon's book, and he did. He parts of it, Adam Smith almost word for word used Richard Cantillon's work, and didn't give Richard Cantillon the credit for it. So I've definitely, and then look, Smith, Ricardo, their work, with the objective value and the class differences, really enraged Karl Marx and what led to Marxism, and has led to all these failed states that have killed millions and millions of people. And so I'm not putting that on Adam Smith or whatever. They obviously couldn't see what was coming, but they did have some shortfalls in their economic theory, which the French, the Spanish scholastics, and then the Austrians came along and fixed. But the damage was done. But so I have read classical. I've studied classical economics. I'm not just Austrian and whatnot. And in fact, I've read Karl Marx's work as well. And I've also read a lot of Milton Friedman's work as well. I think as a free market guy, I support. I loved his Free to Choose TV series he did in, what was it, late 70s, early 80s. I think he updated later in life as well. But I thought they were fantastic. But I just disagree with certain aspects of his economic methodology. But as I said, I'm not just an Austrian ideologue. I like to read a range of economic thoughts and theories. I mean, MMT. I've been studying MMT over the last 12 months because I want to know about it. I want to know where it comes from, and I've done videos on this before. That it originates from chartalism. And so I want to understand all these different economic theories. I just believe that Austrian is the most soundest economic theory out there. Thomas Sowell's actually one of my favorite. He's not an Austrian economist. He's a monetarist from the Chicago School. But he's one of my favorite economists. Once again, there's little bits and pieces that I disagree with his methodology. In fact, I probably agree with him more on the philosophy side of things, and the work that he's done. Seriously, I take my hat off to the guy. So respect out there to Thomas Sowell. So here's some more options trading books, and just about pricing options. Trading. Dr. Alexander Elder's come into my trading rooms. Very good. If you like swing trading and that, and I've got mates who swing trade. I've got mates who trade CFDs and do all sorts of different trading. Use option spreads and whatnot. I just like to keep things as simple as possible. I've tried a whole bunch of things, and I just stick to what works for me, for my personality, and what I have success with. And I think everybody's got to do the same. Now, whether you're an Australian or from America, Canada, Britain, throughout Europe, throughout Asia, wherever you're watching this video, and you're interested in writing options, and that's what I do. I write options. I'm an options writer. I sell options. That's my bread and butter. I do buy options on occasions, but I'm predominantly an options seller or an options writer. And Louise Bedford's book, The Secret of Writing Options, an Australian Guide to Trading Options Profit. Obviously, go out there if you're an Aussie and grab it, but really this is applicable anywhere around the world. And yep, I highly recommend it. So maybe about 6 or 7 years ago, I was talking to a really successful Canadian-American businessman and investor, and we were talking about a whole heap of different investment books and whatever. And he said, Steve, you want to know the best investment book you'll ever read, the best financial planning book, and the best economic book you'll ever read? And I'm like, yeah. I'm literally drooling it, waiting for his response. And he said, the Bible. Now, you may not be a Christian, that's fine. But yeah, I was thrown back, and so we talked about it a little bit, and then he recommended a few books, and so since then I've gone on a journey to really study about what the Bible has to say about economics and finance and investing and whatnot. And it's I just say this, and you don't have to be Jewish, you don't have to be a Christian to learn the principles and whatnot about managing assets and the economy and whatnot, to to put them into practice and to have success. And so, yeah, I've just read as many books as I could on this topic. And to be honest, I have implemented all the principles that I've learnt over the last probably 6, 7, 8 years. And they work. And a lot of the success I've had is due to obviously learning Austrian economics and learning fundamental value investing, using options and whatnot, but using it in a framework with the principles that I've learned. And so, as I said, you don't have to be a Christian, you don't have to be Jewish. You can adopt the principles that are in the Tanakh, the Old Testament, use those Jewish principles. You can read the New Testament and use the Christian principles, whether you're a Christian or whether you're a Jew or not. So with that, what are my top 10 books and what are my top 10 recommendations? All right, so my recommendations. Here we go. So here's a sample of some of my favorite investment and trading books. Now, I didn't talk about Poor Charlie's Almanac, but that's also one of my favorite books, The Skyscraper Curse. Trying to say that. How Austrian economists predicted every major economic crisis of the last century, The Solomon Portfolio. All these wonderful, wonderful books. But out of these books, which ones are my favorite for investing? So my top picks, obviously, as I said, I'm a Joel Greenblatt fan. So any one of his books I recommend. You can be a stock market genius. The best options book that I read is Get Rich with Options. And Lee goes through the statistics of options. So the amount of people that sell options that succeed. So I think it's something like 96%. I could be slightly wrong there. But people who buy options, 96% of people lose money. So the opposite's true. 96% of people that sell options make money. And there's this thing in the market called profit potential. When you talk about options, people love buying options because they look at the unlimited profit potential. But you got to ask yourself, what's your potential to profit? Okay, that's a different question. You can have unlimited profit potential, but if your potential to profit is low, then what's the point? So I much prefer taking smaller premiums every single month and just banking them. And then obviously the intelligent option investor. So this is applying value investing to the world of options. So these are my top 3 picks. So when it comes to precious metals, gold and silver, here's a range of books that I highly recommend that you read. Many of these you can download for free from the Mises Institute. And once again, I'll put a link in the description below. My top picks, however, would be The New Case for Gold. It's brilliantly written, very easy. Jim Rickards puts his arguments for gold very strongly in this book. And obviously, I just recommend any person even thinking about investing in gold and silver should get it. Joe Salerno's Money, Sound and Unsound, once again, just really explains money. What is sound money and what is unsound money. And many of you already know that, but the way he puts it together is just superb. And then obviously got to throw Murray Rothbard in there, The Case for 100% Gold Dollar. I really, really like that. But to be honest, any of those books, David Morgan's book on silver is a great book about the history of silver and where silver has been used as money more times than gold. So, any of them will work. And here's a sample of my top economic books. An essay on economic theory by Richard Cantillon, America's Great Depression by Murray Rothbard, What Has the Government Done to Our Money? The Case Against the Fed from Rothbard, Keynes the Man by Rothbard. Look, I mentioned earlier about Man, Economy and State being my favorite economic book, and human action as well, and it being quite difficult to read and understand. Professor Bob Murphy has done a study guide on both Man, Economy and State and human action. So definitely recommend those study guides from Bob Murphy. Economics in One Lesson, no brainer. The Panic of 1819. Now, also, I mentioned The Mystery of Banking by Rothbard, but also another one that doesn't get a lot of credit is Ludwig von Mises' The Theory of Money and Credit. Once again, brilliant book. So what are my top books? What are my top favorites? So we've had 3 from the other 2 categories, so that's 6. So I've got 4 here, which will make up my top 10. So my top picks is an essay on economic theory by Richard Cantillon. Now, I just think Richard Cantillon deserves the credit that is due to him, because if people say Adam Smith is the founder of modern economics or capitalism or whatever, it's wrong. You got to give Richard Cantillon the credit, and at least Murray Rothbard does give him a lot of credit. So that's one that I highly recommend people read. You've probably heard of the Cantillon effect, or people pronounce it the Cantillon effect. That's from Richard Cantillon. So definitely recommend it. Obviously, Economics in One Lesson is a go-to book, and you can get free copies at the moment from the Mises Institute. Free hard copies, so not an e-copy. Obviously, Man, Economy and State, and if you find that difficult, Bob Murphy's study guide to Man, Economy and State. But Man, Economy and State, Murray Rothbard's my top economist. Ludwig von Mises is my second. I know that's heresy, but I'm sorry. I just love Murray Rothbard. The guy knows how to debate. He knows how to write. His arguments are very persuasive. I'm just a Rothbard fan. And The Theory of Money and Credit by Ludwig von Mises. I was tossing up between this one and his socialism book, because that also impacted a lot of people. That changed people. That really stopped that Marxism, that socialism movement in its tracks, really. And unfortunately, we need a Ludwig von Mises today, because it seems that young people, and there's a move towards the left, move towards embracing socialism and Marxism and communism once again. So anyway, these are my top 10 economic, investment and trading books. If you like this video, guys, please hit that like button, give us that thumbs up. Love to see your thoughts and opinions below. What's your favorite economic, investment and trading books? There's many that I've left out, many I didn't talk about. We could do a video for 2 hours going through all of these wonderful books, but this is just my top picks that I recommend. If you're interested in economics, interested in investing, interested in trading, this is what I do. This is what's had an impact in my life. Love to see your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Anyway, guys, thank you for joining me on our 100th video. Really do appreciate your support. And take care, and I'll see you all again on another episode of Finance Uncut.